Hey, what up YouTube? This is Hella Bella here. I just wanted to do a quick movie review, actually a documentary called Hungry for Change that I just watched on Netflix. It came out a couple years ago, but I think it has some really valuable information as far as nutrition and diet goes. I've been dieting for like 2 or 3 years now, and I actually lost 50 pounds and gained about 15 of it back. So I'm sitting around 145 now. I'd really love to be about 130 realistically. But the bigger issue than weight is the nutrition that we have, and that we're not eating real food anymore. We're eating processed shit. We're eating everything that sits on a shelf for over a year. And realistically, if it can sit on a shelf for that long, how good is it to be putting it into our bodies? So watching this documentary really made me want to transition into more eating more real food. Just being more mindful of looking at the nutrition label, because I am cognizant of calories because I'm on CICO, calories in, calories out. So, I know that's a steadfast way to lose weight. However, it's not necessarily the most nutritious, because we can eat 1,200 calories worth of Snickers and still lose weight. So I made a few points about this documentary that I thought were useful and that stuck out. And honestly, it is a little boring. There are times when I thought, just get to the point. They kind of dramatize everything to make you scared, which is any documentary. They want you to see their point of view, and I understand that completely. So one point that they made in the movie was that there are more calories available to us than ever. We're living in a world of abundance, yet we do less exercise than ever. Of course, we've transitioned to less strenuous jobs, more desk jobs, and yet we have vending machines in all of our office workplaces. So that was one issue. Another is that food addiction, because companies are engineering products now to make us addicted to the food, which, from a business standpoint, I completely understand. Why wouldn't we want to make people addicted to this? But just as a consumer, you have to be aware of that, and you have to think, why do I want Honey Bunches of Oats cereal so bad? Why am I craving this? Why am I dumping artificial sweetener on top of it? Why do I want sweets so bad? And ultimately, it comes down to sugar addiction, carbs, the obsession with sweets, that our body is engineered to do this because we are, a long time ago, it was natural for us to think, oh, there's food here, we need to eat it because there may be a famine later. But that's no longer the case. We're eating to be in a famine, but we're not living in that world anymore. So sugar addiction is real, and I think it causes some people to binge eat, especially me. Like, when I'm counting calories and I've only eaten like 1,200 calories for the day, I may binge eat. I may come home after doing well all day long, and then just something in my head snaps, and I think, I've got to have sugar. It makes me want to eat everything in my house. And so I'm trying to get past that and to try to find more foods that are more satiating. And I guess one thing that this documentary talked about was juicing, which sounds like a fad diet, but it's really not. It's just a matter of putting, spinach and fresh blackberries and yogurt into a blender and making a smoothie instead of just eating it as a solid. So I think juicing is valuable. When I was making smoothies, I was super full whenever I would eat them, and I would even throw in some ice to them. Add a little bit more of a volume to them. So another point from this documentary is that some of our obesity epidemic comes from childhood. It comes from coping mechanisms that we've learned. When we have a traumatic event happen during childhood, we crave comfort, and so we'll eat. And or we just weren't taught the about nutrition in school. For me personally, I drank probably a 12-pack of Mountain Dews every 2 to 3 days when I was in high school, and I was grossly overweight. I was probably 180 pounds my senior year of high school. I was very unhappy with myself. I was not confident. I was not I did not feel like I could have had the experience if I was at the weight I am today now. And of course, I'm not perfect now. Like, I'm still technically overweight. But I'm working towards it, and I'm trying to set goals for myself, and I do a lot of weightlifting and walking, and I've got my Fitbit Blaze here. I've been meaning to do a review on this because I really love this thing. It is addictive to look at this kind of data. But other than that, you don't learn about nutrition as a child, so that you don't have that information as an adult either. So it comes into question of, who do I trust about food? Who's telling me the truth? There's so many books out there, saying this is the cure, this is the diet for you, this is the one that really works. When in actuality, what really works is if we eat fucking real food. If we find things that are in their purest form, if we can find natural produce from a local farm, if we can, find grains and honey and things that are made naturally in a town close to where you live, that's the ideal nutritional intake. Finding farmers markets, and not only that, you're supporting your local economy, but it's very, very healthy to eat food from where you're from. Another thing that I liked about this documentary was that they talked about visualizing how you want to look and self-love, and how a lot of us will wake up in the morning, take our shower, see ourselves in the mirror naked, and automatically just be disgusted. And we have this confidence that we are, gross human beings, or that we're not good enough, when really, we're just a product of what we're eating. And if we're not eating real food, then we're going to look bad. Our skin's going to be blotchy. We're going to have excess fat. We're going to have acne. We're going to have cellulite. So I think the point of this film is really just to address that we need to get back to a world where we are eating real food, where we are, looking at our nutrition labels and trying to think about, could I replace this with something better? Is this really real food, or is this manufactured in somewhere? Does this have things added to it that probably should never even be going into the human body? And so those are the questions that I'm going to ask myself moving forward with 2017 and with my diet, and just trying to be more mindful when grocery shopping, when eating out with friends, when going to a restaurant. You want to look at the menu